Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the program. It's 8:30 in the a.m. and time for our second discussion of the day. We mentioned earlier on, we're going to talk about Indonesian heritage. And what comes to your mind when I say history?
My favorite place and also my children's, and that is a museum.
Oh, you
the
take
only
your kids to
best
museum?
place to go. Yes.
They love it?
Here in Indonesia and everywhere that we go across the world, because we have to learn about every culture and also the history.
That's true. I visit a lot of museums.
Right?
A lot more when I was younger than I do now, because I had a lot more time to do so. Well, today we're going to hear about preserving heritage via museums from Indonesia Young Museum Professional Forum Director, Karina Mintahir, and Nofa Farida, who is the Indonesia Hidden Heritage Creative Hub Director. Good morning, ladies. Thank you for being here today.
Looking very beautiful, by the way, too.
Right? Red and white.
Yes.
Love it. Okay.
Thank you for inviting us today.
Great to have you.
Such a pleasure.
So, first of all, I would like to address Mbak Nofa. Could you tell us more about Indonesia Hidden Heritage and why you decided to, we call it a social enterprise, would that be right?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Why did you
Yeah,
establish
so it starts when I was in Eastern Europe, basically. I have a traveling, I love traveling.
Okay.
I have like innate passion for traveling. So when I was there are lots of activities related to promoting and preserving their heritage.
Yes.
That was when I was in Budapest at that time. So I was like thinking, actually Indonesia has like lots of enormous potentials.
Yeah.
Like this, doing work like this, like promoting heritage through something fun, so like walking tour, walking trip. So when I returned to Indonesia, I thought to like one of my best friends who also be a founder of the Indonesia Hidden Heritage, and we talked like, why don't we establish these kinds of activities? At that time, it's not a social enterprise yet.
Okay.
At that time, it's still like community.
Okay.
So we are establishing community, and then as time goes by, it gets more serious. We've been like tour operator as well.
When was this? When did this start?
2018, so it was like around 5 years ago.
Okay.
And from community, we developed into a tour operator for heritage destinations.
Right.
But then pandemic hits, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we are very much affected. And we decided to change our business model into a consulting company.
Okay.
So we often visit museums during 2019, and we think like how if we focus our works on museum and improving the museum.
Okay.
So after the pandemic over, like now, we can prepare museum to be more fun to be visited.
Is it on these side events, like the programs that you have to? Because I remember pre-pandemic era when we go to the museums, especially right here in the capital cities, basically you just go in and we don't know where to go. You know what I mean? There's always signage and
I always get lost.
right. And then if you go, like you said, museums, maybe abroad, they have so many activities for children's, for family.
Yeah.
Even those tour guides would have, you would have your ear those ear kind of technology.
You can listen to it.
Exactly, with different kind of languages, so you kind of like understand.
Yeah. So actually what we did is like we select a few museums to be our projects.
Okay.
So we cannot work on all museums, and we need to select based on several categories that we have already discussed with our team. So we choose museum that has most like more commitments to improve either their program, their human resources, their facilities and stuff like that. So in Jakarta, we're working with Museum Bahari Jakarta. Have you ever visited Museum?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So we do help them to develop the creative program, putting some signage, and then encouraging them to provide more facilities. So if you come to Museum Bahari these days, like one of the fun museums. So it's not only things to see, but we can also do things there. So sometimes like things that lack from our museum is things to do, right?
Right, the
like
engagements.
Engagement, like you come to museum, you see their stunning collections, but then what next?
Yes.
Okay.
So we need to have something to do there. So that's what we did. And I'm actually very happy because lots of museums these days have things to do. Like if you visit a museum textile, a museum textile, that you can go for batik class there.
Right.
Right. And if you visit the arts and fine, the ceramic and fine arts museum in Kota Tua, you can do pottery classes.
Right.
And if you visit Museum Mandiri, there are lots of workshops ongoing. And if you visit Museum Bahari Jakarta, we have a how do I call it? Ship making and also ship colors, things like that. And we're collaborating also with Indonesia, like with Ichinogami, Indonesia paper craft experts, to do like a workshop on paper crafting.
Wow.
So lots of things going on.
Taking our kids there, by the way. To take
Put it on your schedule.
It was a couple of years ago.
Okay, so we need to revisit.
Yes, of course.
I haven't taken my kids to the museum at all, and they really need to go. So this would be part of the Creative Museum program.
Yes,
right?
that's part of the Creative Museum.
Let's shift our focus over to Karina. Not many Indonesians, especially young Indonesians, would pick, hey, let's go to a museum to hang out. But you actually love museums. How so? When did this begin for you?
Okay, actually, since I was a child, my parents always take me to museum and cultural places. So
there you go.
yeah, so it started from there. And then I learned as I grew older, I learned that museum have the positive impact for me. And then I see the engagement, I see the communities and the creative stuff, and then that is why I love museum, and it reduces the stress from me.
Well, that is definitely a positive impact that we need
Yes,
to
it's a
see.
positive impact. Yeah.
So what is the significance now for like museums? I mean, my children are now 10 and 7, and they go to field trips, by the way. One of them are going to the Museum of Maritime right now. You know, they go to field trips and whatnot, and then, you know, having fun with their friends and learning, you know, they learn a lot from that. But I mean, for the more older, like young adults, for them to teens to want to go there because they want to go. What should museums be like, I think? We want to know from you, Karina.
Okay, I think that I believe that museum is very a happy place.
Yes.
But when a young generation want to go to that museum, museum need to be more creative.
Yeah.
Have more risk to take the plan, not only just Nofa. It's like I see that museum nowadays is very experimental. It's combining education and experience.
Yes.
It's called edutainment, right? So
That's right.
I believe something like that. Museum should be more edutainment.
I think that's a very good question, and it's very challenging as well. I mean, like, we know that kids and family will come to museum. It's one of the best place for entertainment. But how about the young adult? That's actually what brings me into museum as well. Like, for us to decide what kinds of program that we would like to put in museum, we do survey first. And based on the survey that we do, we will then after that generate what kinds of program that we will apply into museum. And for young adult, most of them like music, films, and then the activity that can makes them express their their creativity.
Yeah.
So basically, we on like I think 2 months ago we have expositions Batavia where we put lots of mini concerts on the museum. So it goes from classical music until the pop music. We also invite like Andin, Tompi.
Okay.
So we bring the musicians into the museum, and
That's right.
it's kind of creating a hype as well for the young generations to come.
Yeah.
But we are still in progress to learn what kinds of activities that the young generations wants in the museum. We now we are trying to engage with one of the largest youth community called the Youth Ranger Indonesia, and we try to identify what actually you want to
Youth Ranger.
Youth Ranger,
Oh, nice.
exactly.
Okay.
And we identifying, like, trying to work with them as well, trying to seek an answer, like what kinds of activity that teenagers love in the museum. And I think that's bring Karina as well to be the project director of the Indonesia Young Museum Professional Forum, because we want to hear, like we need to focus our interest into the young generations, right? Because in the end of the day, it's them who will succeed us, all of us.
Yeah, and like we want our museums to be like Louvre in Paris, right?
Exactly.
Like there's people coming from the younger, like you see babies there, young, to the the senior citizens, and maybe like in New York, there's the Museum of Modern Arts.
Yes.
I mean, you see a lot of young adults, teens would like to go there, and now I think in Jakarta is more of the Museum Macan because it's more pop culture, right?
Right. So this is another huge homework for Indonesian museum overall. Like I've seen, and Karina also very much involved on this. We've seen the arts-based museum. They're already captured the young generation.
Sure.
Yes.
But the historical and cultural time museum, this is still.
Okay, well, that's a good point as well, because I'll tell you why, because these new kind of modern museums are very Instagrammable, for lack of a better word, right? The young people love to be somewhere where they can post something. History itself presents a bit of a challenge. I myself, since you brought it up, I did do the same thing. I went to the museums with, if not my parents, then for field trips.
Yes.
And then there was this gap, and then I want to go back now because I have kids. So in order to fill that gap, we have to make young people interested in our culture and history. So what's the best strategy to do that? Either of you can.
You want to go first? Okay. Right.
Okay, actually, it is our problem, right? It's our problem. It's our young generation problem. So, Indonesia Hidden Heritage collaborate with so many people that we built an Indonesia Young Museum Professional.
Okay.
So it's based on our concern of what is our problem, what is the museum problem, why young generation doesn't want to go to museum. So based on that concern, we built this forum to strategize, to think hard about what we can do to the museum in the future. It will consist like 10 topics that we will talk about, and the forum will be held in November also. And then we invite not only museum professional and museum enthusiasts, but also a creative industry, and also communities, and also policymaker. Because without policymaker, basically cannot do anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
You know what I really want to be before? I really want to be a curator because I love museums so much. And I think like just you guys, I think because we've known museums and history through, going museums because of our parents.
Yeah.
So it is our duty also as parents,
Pass
as
it
an
on to our
adult.
children.
Exactly. And then for them to be engaged and to get to know more about museum, not only amusement parks parents, but also about museums.
Yes, because a great nation is built by a strong identity, and through museum we can learn about our identity as an Indonesian.
Exactly. Yeah, talking about heritage is talking about identity, basically.
That's right.
What makes us becoming Indonesia?
Yes.
Things like that. So this is, I think, the importance of the museum. But to stay important, museum needs to stay relevant as well. And this is the challenge that not many museums can answer these days. I mean, like they're already on their comfortable zone as a place for showcase the collections only. But museums, if we see on the ICOM definition, so ICOM is like a world organization for all museum professionals in the world. And if we take a look on their definition and how they progress with museums, it clearly mentions that museum is also needs to be relevant. It needs to be part of the solutions of the current global problem. So on May, I think on May 2023, just like a few months ago, I was selected as one of the speakers on ICOM in Doha, in Qatar. So we're talking about how our work bringing the creative industries to collaborate with museum, not only to preserve but also to promote the museum. So that's one of the strategy that we took into the museum, because we believe that as a cultural and heritage product, museum already take the box, but as tourism destination, as you mentioned, like Louvre, a Met Museum, it's like museum that already tick the box as a tourism destination or tourism product, and we are not there yet.
Right.
So this is.
But we're going on that path.
We need innovation.
Yeah, we are working now toward that path.
Wow. Okay, this is really eye-opening as well. I'm glad that there's actually people like yourselves behind this this push to make this more of a thing that people are more aware of, because I do think that it's very important for young people to know our culture.
Yeah, just like Prambanan with Cause right now. That collaboration, that is a good call too.
Yeah.
It's been everywhere online, by the way. So it's great to have you ladies. I wish we had more time to discuss, but unfortunately, to know more, there's a forum coming up in November. When is it happening exactly?
Is it in 2023.
Oh, okay,
so
very easy to remember.
so it's the same as the Innovation Day of Indonesia, because we will build an innovation for museum in Indonesia. Stay tuned to the Instagram actually at IYMPF. Indonesia Young Museum Professional Forum.
There you
for more info.
At Indonesia Hidden Heritage.
And also Indonesia Hidden Heritage.
There you go. Make sure to follow that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely
follow
follow, sure. All right, everyone. Thank you very much, Nofa. Thank you very much, Karina. And now we're up for another quick break. But when we return, Paul is set to come back to give you the recap from the world sports. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.